Yeah.
Yep.
Oh boy, we had a little bit of a hiccup. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Sometimes on Sundays podcast, track number 25. Today we are without Whoops. He's off fighting crime, so you're here with the Unicorn in Human Form,
What's up?
Arkham, and Hattori Hans Brotansky, whatever you want to call him today. He's going to be taking center point on this. We're going to welcome here today philanthropist, goes by the name of Citizen Tiger, Hans.
Yeah, Citizen Tiger.
How'd you meet him today?
I met him through TikTok.
Okay. So we're going to be interviewing Mr. Citizen Tiger today and learn plenty about him, and we're excited to have him here for the podcast. So let's please welcome Citizen Tiger.
How's it going, guys?
What's going on?
Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for being on. Thank you for taking time out of your day to be here. How are you?
Lean, mean, and peachy keen.
All right.
So Hans reached out to you via TikTok. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us a little bit about your background.
Well, where do I begin? I'm a single father. Let me preface everything with I'm a single father, 3 with full custody. They take up a lot of my time as one's making weird eye contact with me as we speak. I'm a veteran, former 82nd Airborne. I'm an Eagle Scout. I'm a real life superhero. I'm an altruist. I'm a Norse pagan. I'm a lover, and I'm a fighter. There's a lot more, but different things.
Now, Norse pagan is something I don't really hear come up too often. Have you always been Norse pagan, or is that something you picked up over the course of a few years ago? Or tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I started when I was over in Afghanistan. A lot of people tend to question their life choices when you don't know when it's going to end. Say hi.
Hi.
Hello. How are you?
What's going on, kiddo?
And after my divorce about 3 years ago, I leaned back into it. I live in a town of about 30,000, and it's very Indiana Christian. So I kind of went under the radar with it when we started popping out kids. But it's always been kind of private with me during those days. But after the divorce, I kind of came out with it. I kind of, it's always kind of been there since I was in Afghanistan. Been reading it, the Havamal, the Eddas, the sagas. And then when you're divorced, you're trying to rediscover your identity, who you are, how you're going to live your life. You're starting all over again. And that was a big part of it. It really lent to the stability, the morality. I didn't do the typical male thing and just party myself off of a cliff and ruin this. Now that I got 3 little lives hanging on everything I do, I wanted to make sure I stayed kind of grounded, and it's really helped me do that. It doesn't help that I follow Loki, but at the same time, it does.
So that's something I heard you say a few times on TikToks that you follow Loki. What does that mean exactly? Well,
there's ones that follow the Asatru gods, ones that follow them all. Sometimes, like, we call ourselves Lokian, it's more of a modern day practice. There's no real rooting in ancient times that we've found. Just like when a lot of people want to bring a racism card of other races. I've got a couple. We've got Hawaiian, we've got Cuban, we've got other Latino, we've got Native American, we've got African American. And that's why I love sticking my neck out, because we need to show that allyship. But what I tell them is, whether they did or did not, you can talk to your blue in the face to these people, and they're going to find some way to try and contradict you. You know, it's whoever talks the loudest sometimes, I guess. But I try to tell them that there is today. There is today. We don't have brick and mortar like churches, stuff like that. So a lot of it is a personal journey. Some people are involved in what are like called kindred or groups. They tend to name themselves. Some of us can be a little over the top, a little over dramatic. I'm pretty grounded. There is a bit of a trickster in me. But that's also because I find a lot of wisdom in specifically irony. It's like an Occam's razor, that in figuring out the irony, you find out what's true and what's false, and you can find the humor in it. And you can often, say things without saying them when it comes to TikTok, because we all know how the guidelines are.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, that's been a journey. It's a really close community too. At the same time, when COVID first hit, they kind of helped keep me sane, because I was still in the Bricklayers Union at the time, but it was going through the schools and being the sole provider for all three kids. If one of them's home, I have to be home with them. So I kind of got quarantined for like 2 months, because it would go from one kid to the next. And that was back when, I've got to take care of them. I got to make sure they don't burn the house down. But it went from one kid to the next, and we were locked down for like 8 weeks. There's some on the political side, but mostly the Norse pagan side is where I found a lot of bonding, a lot of community when you don't have community. Because also with divorce, you step out into, who got which friends in the divorce,
Yeah, really.
I get none.
So, and it was really awkward because not a lot of guys get custody of the kids. So it was kind of awkward for her. So her friends were kind of making it awkward for me, and we still get along, don't get me wrong, but I've been very lucky, and I attribute that a lot to Loki. Often that's where, not always, blessings or whatnot when it comes to religion come from in Norse paganism. When I speak about it, I speak about it very broadly. Some people only worship Odin. Some people, and I'm learning this one because apparently it was an ancient practice. There's God spousing, and I'm just like, nah, that's a little too much for me, because we all form our own kind of gnosis. Kind of like when I do the Mr. Norseman bit, the one the Villains Guild's gonna do a TV show with eventually. Like you can read the same text in the Havamal, and you could read it when you're, that day you might be, let's just say you're in a mellow mood, but you come back to it angry, you'll read the same text in a completely different way. And what I love about it is it's not somebody giving you their spin. It's you realizing there's different ways to interpret and learning something different each time, and not someone trying to omit or manipulate at the same time. Not that all Christians do that. I have a lot of Christian pastor friends.
Yeah, I gotcha. So I take it the Havamal is like the Norse Bible, so to speak.
In a way, it's kind of called the wisdom of Odin. There's a lot in the sagas too, and there's a ton of text, and there's, like, if you Google Havamal and a verse, and because you're trying to, like, usually my begins with Google and whatever topic I'm trying to touch on, and you can't always get there. So what you'll end up doing is looking into each verse, and you just pick up a lot. I wouldn't call it the Bible.
Yeah, use it loosely.
Yes, if you need a frame of reference, I would refer to it as that. Yes,
Okay.
but there's a lot of contradictory things out there. There's a lot of misinformation that's been put out in the web that people can grab, like about Yule, about Easter, about things like that. What I would love is just some kind of representation up on Capitol Hill, because Yule, you're not supposed to work for those 12 days. And it'd be awesome to have a 2-week break.
Tell me about it.
I got to feed these kids.
So when we were scrolling through your feeds, you do a lot of calls for like charity work and all that, and you looks like you're pumping quite a bit of iron and pulling quite a bit of heavy lifting over there. How did you get into that?
Well, it started with the real life superhero work, believe it or not. That started with St. Jude's, and I still am part of a team called Misfits for Life through a bodybuilder and, I'll just say adult film actress. A lot of bodybuilders get into that. But she started a St. Jude's team. She's also a real life superhero called Misfit. That's why it's called Misfits for Life. And I started doing, because I wanted to get Facebook's so hard to do anything on. So I wanted to grab everyone's attention. And at the same time, I wanted to meet my own goals. So I kind of saw like a win-win going on. And I kind of got hooked on it because whether it be homeless handouts or volunteering at soup kitchens or whatever. Are you guys familiar with the Helper's High?
No, we're not. What is that?
Okay, so it's a chemical reaction that happens in the brain, much like you get when you work out. It's just on the other side of the brain. And it kind of gives you that same feel-good feeling, that like it's like dopamine. I can't remember the exact word. There's a chemical name, but
Serotonin,
Dopamine.
one is serotonin, one is dopamine, and I'm not the sciencey. I just know the two they're different, but they kind of give the same feels. But both my boys are autistic. And when I took them to volunteer, so I do several things with the boys. We do soup kitchens and like trail trash pickups. And whenever we do that, they get really excited and their mood improves. They're not masking as much, and they're a little bit more well behaved. And it's the only time I've seen them do dishes. So I'm kind of trying to tap into that. So, but at the same time, it was part of, when I came back from overseas, I was fighting depression and a couple other things, PTSD. So I started doing some aspects of real life superhero work that led into that, and it led into a bigger way for me to kind of counteract it. So I need it as much as they need it. But at the same time, when it comes to when you hit a goal and you realize you got there by pushing limits and stuff, you kind of want to recreate that blueprint and do the same thing over and over again. And it started with one fundraiser for St. Jude's, and then it was another one and another one. And then when I got heavily involved with the Heroes Alliance, which is the team I work with from around the region, multiple states, and we started doing underneath Chicago, and I mean like 2 stories underneath Wacker Boulevard, so 3 to 3.5 stories underneath Chicago. Not very safe, very hard to get through, a lot of work. When you accomplish a big mission like that, it was kind of tapping into so many great things, from the brain chemicals to help with the depression, the teamwork, the camaraderie, the training aspect and the regimentation that I think I as much as I hated it when I was in the Army, that was part of it as well. Seeing a lot of progress, because you also have to realize when I got out of the Army, the VA told me I'd never walk again. I was in a wheelchair, pushed around. So it's been this big, long journey, and also uncovering this potential I didn't know I had. So it's one part altruism, one part mental health, and two scoops, just like Raisin Bran of I want to fuck around and find out because I don't have anyone telling me I can't anymore.
That's true. Yeah.
How did you hurt yourself? What happened that you were told you weren't going to work or walk again?
We were doing a practice jump just to keep our jump pay. When you're in the 82nd, you have to jump so frequently to keep your jump pay. And they always put the guys that are about to lose it at the back of the bird. We were jumping into Sicily drop zone, and there aren't a lot of trees, but I happened to find one.
Ooh.
And it was a night jump. So I you don't see it coming because it's dark. Boom. It's still kind of dark. And you landed on your, NVGs or your buddy, who knows?
Yeah.
But then on that night, I landed on a tree, and as I was coming down, my big toe hit a branch. Because you have your rucksack dangling.
Mm-hmm.
You try not to let it down too high up, but when you're on night jump, you don't know when that is. But my rucksack on its string grabbed that tree and kind of kept me from going anywhere, and I fell right down to that tree. My big toe hit a branch, and it put my big toe to my shin. It didn't tear my Achilles tendon, but it kind of permanently stretched it out. It damaged it, and then it healed that way. The VA could never find out why I was walking with a limp, because on the scan, the tendon looked fine. It was just stretched out. It didn't look like when I tore my ACL, it looked like torn crab meat. So it didn't look like that. So they couldn't figure out what it was, though. They did what they do with a lot of vets, and they gave me a narcotic painkiller and kicked me out the door.
Wow.
I don't like the VA.
That seems to be shared among a lot of veterans.
But the kids use their mom's insurance. VA is the only insurance I have since I had to step away from the bricklayers, and I started my own business, but it doesn't make enough for me to do that yet.
Okay.
So at least I have something, even though I hate it.
Yeah.
They are going to open up a clinic here just in time for them to announce a 22% cut. So we'll see if it stays here, if I got to drive 40 minutes and spend all day waiting.
Yeah. Maybe they'll close the one that's farther out and keep the one that's closer to you. So
more than likely, what'll happen is the opposite.
no shit.
So they don't do like they don't make you wear like night vision goggles on these night jumps?
Not when you're jumping. You don't put those on till you hit the ground.
That seems very dangerous.
Oh yeah. They can.
Oh, it is. And everybody asks why like the 82nd. They're used to seeing like the intros of like Call of Duty or movies where they're doing halo jumps when it's like 5 guys. But we're talking 60-ish people coming out of the bird in a line. And if they were all able to steer in directions randomly, they'd all get tied up, and it'd be so the object is to get as many infantrymen out and or whatever out the back or out the bird and straight down. You jump from 800 feet. So you count 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000. And if you don't feel a pull, you pull regardless on your reserve because you're jumping so low.
Mm-hmm.
Matter of fact, one of the guys that mentored me, Staff Sergeant Jeffrey Moore, he burned in 2 weeks after I got out, and he would have got my shoot if because we always jumped together. So there's another aspect of the luck thing. Like I had gotten out to help nurse my mother through a hysterectomy and try to get into college for the fall semester. Back then, the reenlistment, they were drawn down, so there wasn't a lot of what I wanted to do left. So I opted to try and go to school, maybe come back an officer. Life had other plans.
Unfortunately,
So I limped out of there, because infantry culture. I got it documented. Luckily, I do get 10% disability for my ankle, and then another 10% for my hearing.
okay.
Why the hearing part? What happened there?
Well, when you fire live ammunition, you can't tell the enemy to hold up. You have to put in your hearing protection.
Gotcha. I didn't know if that and the foot had some type of correlation.
right.
There.
Oh, yeah, no. I screamed. I screamed that loudly.
when you did your charity.
Well, actually,
go ahead.
Say again.
Go right ahead.
Actually, when I had that tree landing, my chute had snagged, and I managed to swing out a little bit. I don't know if it was by choice, but when I came back in, I put my good foot out with my bad foot that was in pain. Tendon pain doesn't really hurt as bad as you think it does.
No, it doesn't.
It's just my things don't work right, and it's kind of alien now.
Yeah.
Anyway, so because I got swung out about, I don't know, 7 feet off the ground, I put my foot out, and the tree was about as big around, I don't know, as my thigh. It wasn't a very big tree, but I'd hit it hard enough, and I guess I had bent it enough from my chute being snagged up above that it snapped, and then I, of course, fell on my back to add insult to injury. And I remember my motor sergeant Moore running up to me and going, "Damn it!" I'm gonna say Tiger, because Newtsies hate me. "Tiger, you Jackie Chan the fuck out of that tree." And I'm just like, "Medic." And what's worse is when you jump out of a plane, he had to pull my riser because I was kind of out of it and had the wind knocked out of me. If you don't pull your riser, your chute can fill up with air, and it'll start dragging you.
Oh,
So then it turns into an outtake. Fort Bragg is a very depressing base. It has a sign when you enter base that says so many days since last division fatality. If you hit 82 days, you get a 3-day weekend.
No shit.
In the four, well, I'm going to say 3.5 because of basic AIT and jump school. In the 3.5 years I was on Fort Bragg, I saw it happen twice.
Damn.
Why are you laughing?
It's just
So
like it's just
that right there, that's the infantry mindset right there.
exactly like you can't help but laugh at this kind of morose shit.
I know. I just had to bust balls a little bit.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, and you get in trouble for not having a hard charging attitude,
See, I could have been a military
But it's where we get that saying. You could have, as long as you can embrace the suck.
Yeah.
Now, when you were here in Chicago doing your charity work, what was the work you were doing? It was at Whacker Drag. What was that all about?
Okay, so the Heroes Alliance, we were going by the Extreme Justice League at the time, but because of my TikTok fundraising so well for it, and our other projects, we were kind of a branch. Donations were getting messed up, so both groups kind of said, "Hey, we need to rename so there's no confusion," because somebody donated to us and it was meant for the other one, and vice versa. So underneath Chicago, every year in the fall, we try and get winter supplies, a lot of food, and toiletries and some other, whatever. Like one year we managed to get sleeping bags. That was my first year. So I had like 6, I always bring my Alice pack, my rucksack. I had like 6 blankets and 3, sorry, that was the cat, sleeping bags attached to me. But we go underneath Chicago and we spend the entire year gathering up materials. We are partnered with turtle fur and Bombas socks. And we get about 6,000 pair of socks every year. And we try to hold back enough for our own missions. And in the late fall, early winter, we start getting it to other real life superhero teams. Usually, like there's some friends down in Florida called the Bay Coast Guardians, and the Extreme Justice League out in California. And then there's some other individuals that we send some to as well. Because of TikTok and its reach, I started being this mouthpiece for the team in ways we never dreamed of, like getting socks to aunties and uncles on reservations. A couple shelters down in Georgia, I think one in Nevada and Utah. So we specialize in gathering the materials and then distributing them ourselves. And if we can get it to other hands, better hands, so they can impact locally, that's what we do. But under Chicago, underneath Wacker Drive, where they film Batman, and they're constantly rearranging things, and things are constantly moving with anti-homeless infrastructure and other things that they implement down there. I think this will be our 8th year this year.
Wow. Okay. I didn't know.
We've been at it for a while.
So is there not a guild here in Chicago for the homeless that do that type of charity work? I heard you name a couple other cities.
Well, we have, yes, we did Indianapolis recently. We're doing Detroit on the 20th of this month. Those are both new locations that we kind of have to learn. And we might do Fort Wayne later this year, perhaps just before the winter time. We found a great new way. It just depends on the local religious organizations if they'll let us partner up and just set up a table. When we did Indianapolis, we had 150 care packs and we handed them out in about 50 minutes. Give you an idea. All because this really wonderful church has this kind of Meals on Wheels approach every Saturday, and we managed to get that done. And that was a record for us because Chicago, it's an all-day thing. We've clocked 13 miles. We have to bring a U-Haul. You know how parking is in Chicago,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
All right.
So we get a U-Haul truck, and it's filled to the brim with packs that we've made and assembled and other things. And then other RLSH from with Chicago specifically, it's called Hope, because I look at it as kind of like it's a team effort, but we're also trying to kind of motivate others in other areas of the country. We have some boys from Canada come down. Some of the other teams like California has come out before. The Florida guys have come up before, just from all over the place. And the year before COVID was our biggest. We had 36 of us all coming in. And it started, we would go when there was a con, and then it kind of became too congested, counterproductive, and crazy expensive. Because I mean, you can stay outside of Chicago, but after you do like a 13-mile road march with full weight on your back or pulling, wagons or whatever, there's a lot of stuff we're hauling.
Like,
we call it the Underdark under there, like in Dungeons and Dragons,
really?
because there's no radio, no communications really don't work down there. GPS doesn't work.
Right.
I'm a trained medic, and we always make sure each team has a trained medic, but you'll find dirty needles, other stuff like that. The crime is happening, but it's not wise to instigate when you're there to do something else.
Yeah.
Though there have been videos taken and submitted, but we're more concerned about people getting fed and getting ready for the winter. We can fit a lot when you're talking like broken down, like the equivalent of broken down MRE. So we might have like a bunch of tuna fish packs, crackers, shelf stable stuff. Harborough Candies has donated, like one of our guys, Eddie, His band does a fundraiser for kind of Halloween costumes for orphans.
Oh, that's cool.
And for and they got a bunch of candy donated. Harborough was like, yeah, you do this and this. Here, have a whole bunch of gummy worms. So, we always got a bunch of that, and we got other snacks and crackers. And as of 3 years ago, we started doing $5 gift cards, and a lot of people are kind of wary about them, but we really like them because they don't weigh much. And if they want to sell that for less than $5 for whatever they're going to do, whatever. But more often than not, we find them, and they like knowing that they've got food for today, tomorrow, and then that card for whenever, maybe day 3.
Yeah.
It really comes down to panhandling and what they can come across.
Right.
But, cities like Fort Wayne, they'll escort them out if they have any signs of that they're going to stay. They'll escort them out of town or escort them to a shelter with all the river development that's been going on the last few years.
Okay. Gotcha.
So you really got to play. We're going to try and do the same thing we did in Indianapolis there. Unfortunately, Detroit isn't going to do that, so we're going to hijack it because, America, that whole America fuck yeah thing works 2 ways, and we're going to be on the sidewalk across the street. So I don't care if they don't like it. We're going to help people, and we've already got all the supplies to do it.
Right.
That's great.
And that's the other thing. We just kind of, it just depends on what we have the resources to do. And TikTok has really helped us with doing that. We started with only Chicago, and for like 6 years, that's all we did, with then taking some leftovers, divvying it up amongst our team, and then kind of trying to, put it out in small patrols when we go out. Like Animal and I'll go out and do that sometimes. Or he'll go up to Michigan, up to Lansing, and work with Reverb and get what's left out. Or we'll go scout Chicago, and we'll take some with us. And, they might get multiple care packs over the course of a short amount of time. We do have one guy that lives in the outer city of Chicago, and then one guy that does work in Chicago but lives in Indiana.
I mean, be something we maybe might want to participate in one year.
Yeah, that would be cool.
It wouldn't be a bad idea at all, man.
But I want to have an official name guild. When we do it.
We could get you a patch. We could get you a patch made up. You could be part of the Heroes Alliance honorary.
All right.
Yeah, we'll have to. The Legion of Doom.
We do.
The Legion.
Hey, we've got a lot of people with really cool names, whether it be kind of the dark anti-hero type. Those are always fun, but some people are over the top with it. But the reason some people do the get up, I've toned mine way down because I tend to be on the more practical side.
Yeah.
Like, hey, we're going to be walking 13 miles. If I wore this helmet, it's going to turn into a rainforest.
A stinky nonetheless.
Yeah, that's the thing, and I bring changes of socks and moleskin and hiking boots, and I come prepared to do the work, and I can kind of look cool, but I don't care because I'm sweaty and dehydrated.
Yeah.
but some people wear all kinds of different stuff, and the reason we do it, we mask up. The reason, and people like Phoenix Jones will tell you something different, but the majority of us have this feeling that we're there to draw attention to the problem and not us. It's not, hey, look at us. Because when you're all geared up and you're in your gimmick, as we call it, or your Halloween costume, or your superhero suit, whatever you want to call it, you're not looking at us. You're just looking at people, and it draws your attention. And it's like, oh, look, they're helping homeless people. Maybe they didn't even realize they were there. Or maybe they've got to, come to grips and be forced to look at their own indecision for a moment.
Yeah.
But it's getting worse every year.
Oh yeah, we see it here firsthand. It is getting
Yeah.
more and more worse. But what you when you're doing the charities, how do you determine like what who gets what, or is it just kind of like you just kind of pack everything together based off the weather and all that?
Well, I have a saying. About 4 years ago, I was elected to be leader of the Heroes Alliance, and I kind of have an infantry mindset when it comes to it, and that's do the best you can with what you got. If we and when people donate, it should be stated that when we all travel to Chicago, no money or other resources are used for us. We pay for our own hotels, gas money, turnpike, which I hate. Out of our own pockets. Everything that's donated goes straight to them. If we do have to relocate, some funds are used to ship it to other people, but that's about the extent of it. Renting a U-Haul, that and filling it up, that does come out of it, but that's mission essential because we're talking downtown Chicago. And what's rough about it is you can only carry with what you can hold, or I'm sorry, you can only move what you can carry. You can't drive a vehicle into a lot of these locations, so you got to go in by foot. So a lot of it is you walk this far out, now you got to go resupply, and then you're going to go over here, and then you're going to go over here, and then you're going to go over here.
Oh shit!
But a lot has come from TikTok. Be honest. We used to work on a budget of, I don't know, about $500 to pull off what we could. Some would be wish list up. A lot of us would buy stuff out of our own pockets, to make up amends. The number one requested thing is of course socks. So we really lucked out when Bombas worked with us. Turtle Fur giving us gloves, hats, face mask coverings, all kinds of great winter gear. So then it comes down to, like, we have a man named Patrioteer. He is our quartermaster, and he likes to basically he spends at least an hour every Sunday morning before he goes off to church and the kids are having that slow morning, sending an email to a random company for donations of food or toiletries or whatever. We've never really started asking for funds until we started really needed to cover expenses of shipping items or like renting U-Hauls because we have so much. Because we have to get it centrally located. It's all shipped to one spot. Now we got to transport it all into Chicago and get it disseminated. But
out of curiosity, how far in the
Go ahead.
hole do you guys get into when you're doing all this charity work?
What do you mean? Into
So
the
like
hole?
expenses that you aside from the stuff that you guys actually donate,
Their own personal expenses.
yeah, their own personal expenses, like how far in the hole do you get
Oh.
into that?
Well, it depends. I can only speak for my personal expenses. I never ask the guys what they go through. Sometimes, like I had a friend come up from Tennessee that normally wouldn't be able to attend. They helped me with my YouTube, but I also wanted to experience it. And so I said, hey, if you can get to Chicago, I'm going to get a bigger room with 2 beds and you can stay with me. And I'll get you fed while we're there. So, it just really comes down to, we're just like Norse Talk. We're kind of a tight community and we take care of each other. And, it just goes, I don't know. For me, you're looking at $100 to $150 for a hotel room. About a tank of gas for me because it's about a 4-hour drive. And then you're talking food in Chicago, parking in Chicago. I'd say I personally spend about realistically $400, $450. But you have people that fly out, from California, from Florida. But a lot of it is also so that we can all meet up like a convention.
Yeah.
So it's really hard to say what any one of these people spent out of their own pocket.
I mean, if it's you alone, $400, I can imagine, or what? Yeah, 400 to $500. I can imagine what everybody else is spending, especially if they're flying in. Like that's gonna just
Right.
exacerbate the costs of it.
Well, I started this fun habit that I convinced the then wife that I get a credit card and I use it only for that, and then we would pay it back throughout the year. So I basically have that. It's kind of a delayed payment program for it.
Okay.
But hey, I get extra points for food, and I eat a lot. So there is, and are one of you guys was it Carlos that said he was in Chicago frequently?
Yeah, I'm in and out of Chicago all the time. Like we are actually located just
outside.
Yeah, we're what 20 minutes away, 30 minutes tops for traffic.
Downtown.
Yeah, I mean we're right there.
Okay, there's a sandwich I'm supposed to try that I'm going to get the whole team to kind of have that Avengers shawarma kind of scene.
Yeah.
There's a sandwich there that we just learned about called the gym shoe, I believe.
Yeah.
Oh, the gym shoe. Yeah.
I've never been there personally, but I've heard about it. Yeah,
I heard
Yeah,
that too.
it looks good. I haven't
Okay.
tried it either.
Manny's is not a bad spot either.
yeah, Manny's is pretty solid too.
Yeah.
Some big portion.
We usually hit the home of the deep dish
Okay.
because it's right downtown, right where we want to be.
Really.
Right.
It's funny. Everybody thinks that like everybody in Chicago eats deep dish, but we really
Really
a lot of it. A lot of it's really just tavern style pizza that we really go for. So
Yes.
more of the local spots.
Right.
I feel
in the
like
neighborhood.
I feel like we stick to like more thin crust type pizzas,
I know.
thinner crust. Yeah,
Yeah.
everybody.
I love Chicago's love for sausage. Holy cow.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Hot
Yeah, we
fudge.
like-
Or just griddle meats in general.
No, yeah, for sure. The brats are good over here.
Brats.
Um,
Huge brat guy. I love brats.
or Chicago's hot dogs for sure.
I don't think we get enough recognition
The
for
Bears.
this Mexican food we got out here either.
Yeah, no
Oh
shit.
yeah, man.
Seriously,
we got some of the best Mexican food for sure.
I was talking to somebody about
Yes, you
it
do.
too.
For sure.
What do you?
I always try and go around and Greek. You got some good Greek too.
Oh yeah, Greek is
Oh,
fantastic.
for sure. Yeah, or our American style restaurants or whatever they call them now.
What about
Yeah.
Hoagies?
And in Flint,
What was that?
say again.
No, go ahead.
In Flint, where I grew up, thanks to Greek culture and New Jersey, we have a ton of Coney Islands, and nothing beats a Michigan Coney dog. But their Greek style restaurants remind me a lot of the Coney Islands from back in Flint.
Hoagie steak. Have you?
Greasy
had it?
spoons open all night with
Yeah. Oh yeah.
holy steak. No,
Yeah, steak
Hoagie
beggar.
Dude, hoagie steaks is another.
I can't remember the name of it. We tried a hot doggery that had like all these crazy different kinds of hot dogs.
Okay.
Might have been Hot Dogs. They used to be they shut down a while back though. But they had like alligator dog.
No,
No shit.
this was in a Latino neighborhood about 20 minutes from downtown.
It's gotta be Pilsen,
See the Pilsen
Humble Park,
Little Village.
Little Village.
Yeah.
Little Village, I believe.
Little Village. Okay.
Hot dogs out there. I don't know.
I never,
No?
never
Well,
thunk it. I don't check.
Who'd have thunk it?
Yeah. No, if we go to Latino neighborhoods, we're getting some
I mean,
tacos
like,
and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, we practically live in one, so it's what's it called? It's counting off like within 3 blocks how many Mexican restaurants we had when I was getting a ride home last night. Because I was saying that we have a whole bunch of their Mexican food is the dime a dozen out here, and within a 3 blocks, I think we passed by like 6 restaurants. So I was just
You can't beat Latin cuisine. I'm sorry.
no, you can't. No, it's heavy, but it works, man.
No,
And so are we.
no. Pico makes everything better. Pico makes everything better.
Oh, for
Oh, yeah.
sure.
Pick of the guys. Oh yeah.
So going back semi to the whole Norse paganism thing, like really the whole Viking culture. What is it about white supremacists that they feel so attracted to it?
Well, you got to understand. We're going to get into a lot of icky things, but I'm a little bit of well versed in this. So we're going to go back to World War II Germany.
Mhm.
and the Nazis. Himmler you'll see a lot of symbols that he literally invented. There is a rune that is the Othala rune. There's a good version that goes in the runic alphabet and is good, but there's one that has little feet that point upward, and that's the bad one that Himmler put on. And it kind of, I'm not going to say that's where white supremacy came from, because it's kind of been an institution since, or I wouldn't call it white supremacy. I'd just call it classism. Has been around for quite some time. But I would say when it comes to Norse paganism specifically and white supremacy, that comes from World War II Germany, and then it coming to America. And let's see, I'm trying to remember the names of there's various churches that started, and not all Odinists are bad, but a lot of them fall into it because of the prison system. You have this Aesir only, or Asatru Odinist, specifically one, only worshiping Odin, that gets into the prison system to where you have like an organized crime version of it from like, what are they called? The Aryan Nation?
Aryan Brotherhood, yeah.
Brotherhood, yes, that's what it is. So it's more of, how I see it is, people realizing there are a lot of white people, but that is quickly changing. You can see that in Norse talk. I'm proud of them. A lot those that aren't European or mixed ancestry or whatever tend to flock to me and several others, because we'll go to bat for them. We all deserve it at the table, especially here in America. But when it comes to white supremacy, I blame Hitler and that complete nonsense they had going on there, because they had some crazy stuff going on.
I'll say,
according to originally the Aryans came from Atlantis, according to them, and they went looking for it. Yeah, and then let's tie you into how the modern alt-right is actually appropriating what they did from there, from this nonsense that they were doing, because it was just a way to give people a national identity while simultaneously allowing them to express their hate and justify taking their actions when they would invade. Because you have to realize that the Germanic tribes, when they say Germanic tribes, they didn't all eventually settle in Germany. It was just a term given to them by the Romans. Some settled in France, some settled over in Scandinavia and Sweden, and there were over 30 tribes that all kind of did their own thing and evolved. So when they go out and they settle their areas of the world, if Germany can go look at those Germanic tribes, we can invade there, and then it's justified for us to go and invade there. And one of the ways they did that was doing their weird pseudo kind of Norse paganism. They actually had a University of Atlantis. It's still there. You can tour it.
Okay, I was going to say
they did
still in practice.
It's a real thing that blew me away. They went and searched for crazy stuff because a large part because Himmler was allowed to run around and kind of do whatever he wanted as long as he got initial clearance with whatever people he could. I remember one of his researches. Yeah, Himmler.
He's one of Hitler's guys.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. I thought,
Hitler.
Heinrich Himmler.
Heinrich Himmler basically fashioned him. He wanted to be a knight so bad that in his castle, he had a round table, and he had 12 special officers they would do their weird rituals with. And I won't get into the nastiness of it, but there was a sacrifice that was built by Jews. They had a concentration camp right outside. They never finished it, but I don't know. I don't get it. It's actually kind of goofy.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
the
because
way you're
then there's Hyboria, or what is it, Hyperborea, which was the South Pole, and they went down there and basically went, well, no one owns the South Pole, so we're going to stick a Nazi flag in it and call it ours. America actually sent troops down to the South Pole,
Operation
because they thought there was, yes, I believe it had a name, Operation Vigilant, I think. Anyway, they thought that there were Aryans there, and then they weren't there, and then they were under it, and then they were maybe deep down under it, and they were called the Hyperboreans now. But bring it back to the modern gnome movement. Are you guys familiar with this?
No.
No, I was going to actually ask about that later.
I didn't even know there was a University of Atlantis. Is that an accredited university?
It's it's credited with the
No.
Okay. Is that
Brown
recognized
University
by the Board of Education? Or?
It's accredited as being wrong.
Oh.
So you know how in the pre-show I was discussing how because of guidelines and things like that on social media, that it's kind of helped me learn to talk around things, and I kind of found a comedic voice in that.
Yeah.
Well, you know, that's the same rules apply to Nazis, and they have to find ways to dog whistle to each other without getting reported and constantly in trouble. So they tapped into this. You'll see a lot of them referring to Hyperborea. When they're saying gnomes, they're referring to Jews. They will often say, because they wear the hats, the yarmulke.
Oh, yeah.
And Hasidic Jews have beards. There's many reasons, and they can justifiably deny it by saying, I just really like gnomes, or it's part of, kind of European culture. They'll hide behind it. But they're also, you'll find a lot of gnome hunter videos. So knowing that they're referring to Jews and they're calling themselves gnome hunters, what do you think they're implying?
Yeah.
Now you'll often see that 12-pointed black sun with sig runes behind it spinning. Often you'll see them talking about Hyperborea, because there's this weird conspiracy theory that connects the two, that they were joking about, and then they clicked and said, we can invent this gnome thing as a goof. They're often on 4chan, 8chan doing their little psyops. This is just another one of them.
Mm-hmm.
So there's this theory that Hitler didn't die, that he had a body double.
Mm-hmm.
And some leaders had them. Churchill reportedly had a body double.
Yeah.
But the body double was dead, and Hitler was down at the South Pole in a bunker, or in Hyperborea. It hurts my brain sometimes with all the dots I have to connect.
I can't tell if it's because I'm starving or if it's because of how you're explaining this, that I'm just getting a headache right now, just trying to comprehend.
It sounds like the first Captain America movie.
Oh,
Hydra.
And it's exactly that. They try to get to be like cartoon villains, but at the end of the day, you'll find a lot of the same gnome guys that also have content on TikTok based around Ted Kaczynski. They're what's called accelerationists.
Yeah.
And they basically want to eliminate capitalism and, the not white people. When they'll say a large portion of the population or half the population, they're just leaving out the fact that they're only going to leave the white ones.
Right.
Wow.
And that they should go live in, and the problem is it's gotten into Christianity. You'll see a lot of overlap where you have to extrapolate like gnomes oh, and here's this guy that's going to making content. I won't name the guy, but I did a video recently where I was like, why is this Crusader Knight guy wanting to go to Hyperborea?
I think.
He wants to convert the pagans and see Hitler. I get it.
Man, there's a lot of code.
There's
I couldn't decipher
Oh,
the code.
I have a playlist on TikTok with 150. I think I'm on 8 episodes. There's a lot.
yeah, and they're referred to.
There's
Are you referring to him as dog whistles, or is that the official like term for it? Is
That's the official term for it. Yes.
okay.
And because of the same guidelines that TikTok has, or a lot of platforms have, as they have to talk in code, like I can't just call it for what it is. I have to say things like, I have to make it entertaining at the same time, or the education isn't going to gain traction.
Right.
So I have to say things like boop the newtsy on the snootsy,
Yeah.
Right.
Control Alt Right Delete, stuff like that.
Right. Control delete. I like
that
that.
It's actually very clever.
But and that's the thing is, just like with my own rehabilitation of my body after the marriage, I didn't know I was this funny. I mean, I could be mouthy when I would box in the Army, or just in general. But I never realized I had the wit till I was put in that scenario. Much the same way, like I'll set a goal for the fundraisers that are a little over the top, but I give myself enough time to get ready for it. And more often than not, I managed to accomplish it with some fuel in the tank. Recently, I did one where I changed it up a little bit, and I just prayed. Tank Tolman and I are you guys familiar with Tank, Mr. Hammer?
No.
No.
Okay.
Oh,
He's a North Talk.
Maybe I might be familiar
He's
with him.
North Talk, but he's a big fitness creator. He's a good dude, good friend. We talked a bunch of times. So I have this St. Jude Children's Hospital I did for a competition, and we decided to help a veterans program. And I put my belt up for grabs, because he's a much bigger creator than I am. He's got over 1 million followers, and I kind of wanted to get with Tank, because I am competitive. And it was just who could raise the most money, however he wanted to. And he was going to do hammer strikes per, I think he said per $1, or was it per 5? When you're talking thousands of dollars, think about that.
That's it's a football injury waiting to happen.
Yes. I said I was going to tug of war my truck 1 foot per dollar raised.
Yeah.
And I raised 2,600, I think. So I had to tow my truck 2,600 feet.
What kind of truck?
And that's the one where I've got
Just a
Chevy Colorado. So it is a V6.
Oh, shit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
But it's paid off. Don't judge me. But I also had my youngest in the back, who's always in the back, and my oldest steering.
Okay.
So there are other people there. It's not a V8 difference, but
Yeah.
and the kids have helped me with almost every one of my fundraisers.
That's cool.
Well, A, because I'm a single parent and babysitters are expensive, but also B, I want them to see chasing the goal, but they get excited rooting for their dad just as much,
for sure.
Didn't you do?
I want to create that.
Go ahead.
Oh, I said I just want to create that kind of life for the kids. They get it. I train 7 days a week, and I do some pretty ridiculous stuff, and I'm constantly growing. I do it safely. Don't get me wrong, but when I push myself, there's some mornings where I lose motivation, but maybe my youngest will walk up and say, "You got this, Dad." That'll just, nope, we're back in it. Let's do this.
That's cool.
It's like a It's like a post-work coffee for me.
And you usually train before your kids wake up?
Yes. You got to understand, this might help somebody that's in a relationship or married when their significant other doesn't want to participate and does that quiet animosity. They don't want you to get fit. They don't want you to spend your time at the gym, because originally when I first started, I was rehabilitating myself. And when I kind of started getting back to normal, walking normal, able to lightly jog short distances, you know, I wanted to go a little bit more. I think I was going 3 days a week then. But she didn't really like that. And when it came to the weekends specifically, because that's when I found I had the most time, you know, just watch the kids for an hour. I'll run to the gym and then we'll go do what we're going to do. I want to do it earlier in the day. And we would always push it back and push it back. Then it was just too late, or the gym was closed, or, you know, we're going to be out in Fort Wayne all day, or we're going to be at a family gathering or whatever.
Right.
It just felt like I was getting sabotaged so much. So what I decided to do was switch my gym membership to Anytime Fitness. And I've been there since it opened. And I will just go at the butt crack of dawn. And I've kind of fallen in love with it. It reminds me a lot of the Army, because you do your PT first thing in the morning. But also, you know, as a bricklayer, it's a very physical job.
Mm-hmm.
When I'm done at the gym ahead of time, I'm kind of already stretched, loosened up, the blood's flowing, I'm wide awake, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, ready to go. So it kind of helps with not getting injured.
Oh, think we lost.
He even gets up.
Okay.
No harm, no
Yeah,
show.
we think you cut out a little bit there. Could you repeat that after you get?
Yeah, I saw
after
it.
you get, you're stretched out.
Okay, after you're all stretched out, it really helps with not getting injured while you're at work, because you've already loosened up, stretched, and you're wide awake, ready to go. But the best part about doing it was I had it done before she could come up with a way to manipulate the day so I couldn't.
Hmm.
And it didn't affect my social circles either. So I wasn't having to take away from friends or chores or whatever. But as a single parent, I kind of have an unofficial agreement with my oldest daughter. She babysits her brothers. They're all asleep, so she's getting a little something for basically sleeping. But I get up at like 4:30. I work out. I come home, get them up, feed them, get them on the bus, and then I go hit the job. I have 2 autistic boys. I tried staying with the Bricklayers Union for the benefits and the pension, but I got called off the job 11 times. And there's a lot of appointments involved with both boys, not just normal kid stuff. When you start getting into autism stuff, you got to go see the psychologist. You got to go see the counselor. There's a lot of appointments I got to get done. Their mother helps me with a little bit.
Are they verbal, nonverbal?
They're verbal. They have more anger regulation disorders. They can get overstimulated. They were nonverbal until they were about 4 or 5.
Okay.
My youngest was nonverbal till he was about 4.5, 5, just before school. But speech therapy and a bunch of other stuff really helped. I still haven't gotten them on Social Security yet, because Indiana and the pandemic, they changed a bunch of stuff.
Oh, really?
I'm
What changed exactly with the pandemic and getting kids on Social Security?
well,
If you don't mind me asking about.
namely the wait to even get the appointment going. but also they made it harder on unemployment because they're trying to. This was about the time when they were trying to get everybody. And a bunch of people. Hold on, I see the thing. Okay, how's that? Can you hear me again?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. So a lot of people were getting damaged lungs and damaged other things from COVID and stuff. So they basically, the system was overburdened and they were making it harder to qualify to get on Social Security. It didn't matter if it was COVID related or not. It was just anybody trying to get on it.
Gotcha.
I've put in paperwork 3 times. I'd love to get the boys horse therapy.
Okay.
Horse therapy is in like
therapy.
Gotcha.
Yeah. They do it for what's it called? Sometimes they do it for like drug addicts in rehab too, where they take them out to a farm and they just kind of work with horses and all that.
Gotcha.
Going back to your training, going back to your training regimen. What is your training routine, by the way? Just out of curious, because you seem kind of thin there. Not really that strong. I'm worried about you.
You should be. You should be. Well, it's always changed. The important thing is consistency. I am up to 7 days a week. I kind of have what's called a rotation, and I hit almost I hit every body part within 5 days. Then I do a full body day, and then I do kind of where I feel that I'm lacking and core. So like Mondays are shoulders and neck, but that's also kind of the upper back or trap or whatever you want to call it. I do neck bridges. I wrestled all through high school. Bridges are important in MMA, and I don't know, maybe someday I'll unretire from that. But 3 kids, I kind of have to. But at the same time, you got to realize if you keep doing the same thing every time you walk in there, yeah, you're going to have your core exercise. You're going to curl, you're going to squat, you're going to deadlift. Mix it up, even if it is the variation that you do. The body adapts. I got this from Schwarzenegger. It was probably the best thing I learned, is the body adapts. So after about 4 to 6 weeks of doing the same thing, switch it up. I like to take exercise out every once in a while and add something new in to either try it out and give it a chance and move things around. But when it comes to discipline, I'm all over the place. I use kettlebells like a fighter, sleds like I got that from a fight coach. When COVID happened, I needed to come up with ways to train at home. So I started messing with the truck. Well, no, back then it was our family sedan. But I basically, my routine is I'm going to warm up with 2 sets of 12 to 15 reps of whatever weight that is manageable to do in that rep range. And then I'm going to do 2 more sets and just pyramid the weight up till I get to 4 to 6. That clip you got of me doing 400, every once in a great while, I don't like to ego lift, but every once in a great while, I like to test where I am at. So if I'm feeling my grits, I might go for a 1 rep max. I will probably never do that on a squat, because if I get stuck and I'm there by myself, yeah. But I'm more about volume and ramping it up till I can't. Some days are good days. When you consider blood sugar and all kinds of these weird variables, I just go with what I've got that day and just try to do the best I can that day. It's just more important that I get in there and that I do something, not only for my mental health, but at the end of the day, I got to live long and prosper to raise these babies.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. I hear that.
I had a question.
But when I set,
No, go ahead.
oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
When I set these goals for charities, and then I tell, well, if we just, I'm never sure how far my reach is on other platforms, but just TikTok alone, I'm telling 140,000 people I'm going to do this. And if I don't do it, I'm going to look like an asshole.
Oh, yes.
Fair enough.
That's why we call our podcast sometimes on Sundays.
Yeah,
Only
right.
Sometimes.
we live up, we have the name too.
Nobody wants to be the asshole.
Yeah, so beginning of our podcast, we were notorious for just coming on late. We didn't even come out today.
Sometimes we just didn't even come.
That's the story of our lives.
I'll tell you what's killing me. What a lot of people misunderstand about fitness is the food. Like I eat I don't. Some days I can't really afford to get that much in groceries. Groceries are through the roof. So when you're talking eating 4 to 5 meals a day, one's usually a glorified snack, if you ask me, on top of the kids and everything. I mean, I'm spending a lot of money on groceries, and that's like I can afford protein powder and creatine, and those are the only things I supplement with. And everybody seems to be focused on the minutia of what's your supplementation, what do you wear, old shit, and what specific exercise should I do? How many? They want to get into the minutia. I just tell people, just get in there and don't worry about the minutia. Figure it out as you go. It's better than get anxious about everything. Just get in there and get relaxed with it.
Right.
Then worry about the stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, completely agree. You had something?
Yeah. I wanted to ask about the you guys are building tiny homes or something like that, right?
Yes. That's my current fundraiser going on. Well, one of them.
Well, he could.
I always have. Sorry, I'm getting a water. Getting a dry throat. Yes, I'm doing an event with Chain Unchanged. My buddy Troy, a veteran, a Navy officer that just got out. They have this wonderful organization built. They've got their own home that of course is a tiny home, but they have a village of 3 additional ones, and they're trying to build a 4th. And what they do is they take this minimalistic living and they teach women coming out of sexual slavery and exploitation. They stay there up to a year. They get them their counseling, stuff like that. But they also teach them life skills. A lot of these women have never stepped foot in the kitchen. They often end up back on the street and back in the same system. So they give them these tiny homes to live in for a year, and that's the fundraiser I'm doing currently, is for Troy's awesome project. And for that, I'm going to be doing a 1-mile truck push if we hit the goal.
Your truck?
Mm-hmm. With 1 kid in the front, 1 kid in the back.
1 mile.
I've done it. I've done it once before for St. Jude, and it's a little bit different because it's the truck and not the family sedan.
Okay. So, I totally lost my train of thought. So you're going to push it for a mile for this particular one. If you hit a goal, what's the goal exactly?
I think they need to hit 24,000, and last I checked, I want to say they were at 6. You have to understand that what was it, about November last year, charity content got really ramped down by the algorithm and or moderation team on TikTok. I would have posts that would get 40 or 50,000 views before. I might see 300 or 400. I think charity related. So I could do like another like comedy post, and that would do, 20, 30,000. So it'd be weird if you look at my screen, it'd be like 10,000, 8,000, 400, and that was the charity post, 6,000. And that really hurt some operations last year. And then, I've got this OnlyFans thing. When they threatened to take down TikTok, I really panicked as a team leader and sole provider for all the operations that our team has gotten used to, that I came up with a plan to show everything but my dick, just everything but. And I've employed my girlfriend to do the camera work, and strangely enough, it's helped with our relationship.
I'm
a lot.
sure it has.
But
This is a family show, Tiger.
don't. Well, I'm fixed, so I can't make that family anymore.
With the tiny homes, I mean, it sounds kind of, and it might sound like an odd question, but I mean, they just literally go there and sleep. Like, you're not hanging out in there all day, right? Like that type of lifestyle, they got to be. They're
Oh
probably
no, they have structured kind of living going on. They're not just lounging about. They go to counseling. They have like classes on from anything from cooking to cleaning to job application training, to some of them will find work and are working. They're trying to get on their feet. But a lot of them don't know how to do a job interview, or because they were taken when they were children or young teenagers. Some of them are trying to get to that point where they can lounge around. They're also being taught how to homestead. That's a thing, like growing food and raising chickens and all that stuff that Troy's always running around chasing his cocks.
Also, with charity work, there are some bad charities out there, are there not? Like there are charities that are a little bit more,
Yes,
not giving as much.
I have okay, so there's a lot of things going on with what I call the big boy charities, where they have the point of a 501c3 is to fulfill a role that a business nor the government, neither one, is doing. And there will be operating expenses. They're expected to operate like a business, so they have staff. Those staff get paid like any other business. However, it's just kind of like we're seeing with a lot of groceries and stuff with corporate greed. You'll see them, it might start small, like they're leasing a vehicle, or a vehicle is donated, and the head is going to take that BMW that they're leasing or that they have bought, and it's not in their name. They might have like an overinflated salary. I've personally come across a nonprofit that in their first year wanted to, the head of it wanted to, and I sat on their board. They wanted to pay themselves $150,000 a year.
Wow.
When I was like, "This is your first year. What are you talking about? You can live." Well, I need that much to live on. I was like, "How about 30? That's kind of livable in this area."
Really?
And then if there's any left over in the budget and things are too tight, we'll talk about it. We can raise it the next year or whatever.
But
we haven't even met our first. Well, we hadn't even had our first charity fundraiser yet. So there was literally no funds yet, and they're dictating. So some people come into it just like that.
Wow.
There was one by an individual in, is it Flushing, Michigan, that basically took, there was a team called the Michigan Protectors in the real life superhero movement, and he was a part of them, and he took that $500 and then started his nonprofit out of his home. It was a church. And eventually, during the pandemic, it became like a guns church or something. I don't know. There are some really weird ones, but at the same time, there's some really bad ones. I personally have a strict policy of I never touch those funds. If I'm going to be fundraising with an organization, it goes straight to a designated position or straight to a designated place. Like St. Jude, they have a direct link, so I never see it. I never want to be tempted with it. You'll have organizations like the Red Cross they're supposed to be helping all people, and they might discriminate on who they help, like the LGBTQ. I just have a policy of don't be a dick.
It's a good policy.
And if you're gonna, but if you're gonna come at me like a dick, I'm gonna clap back. But
yeah, I've seen that. I've seen your TikToks where you're usually clapping, trying to shit in your comment section, or even talking shit to your fans in your comment section.
Sometimes, yes. It's either A, to put more volume on that post because eventually it will help. There was an auntie that was going to get evicted. I do some quick little fundraisers that happen in the course of like a day or three, and she and her son were going to get kicked out of their apartment, and it was after her ex-husband from a recent divorce managed to bogart all the tax return money. And we managed to pull that off. But if it wasn't for the trolls, we probably couldn't have pulled it off because, as I said before, the charity posts were ramped down, right? So when you do a comment response from that video, it draws attention to it. And that was when I was going through I believe the WASP 1488 saga.
Yeah.
For those that don't know, 1488 is another Nazi dog whistle. 14 is the 14 words of white supremacy, and the 88 is the 8th letter of the alphabet twice, which is Heil Hitler.
Okay.
They love using those things in their names. So not only can I educate 140,000 people on how to identify a Nazi, make them laugh, but I also brought attention back to that one post that was being ramped down. Actually, with him, I think we managed to do 3 posts off of that one. So I'm constantly trying to drag attention to the good stuff by taking on the bad stuff.
Is
that
the video with the dude with the Iron Cross in his picture?
No.
Okay.
That's the one that has the there's a special German sculptor. They like using his 2 of his statues specifically as profile pictures.
Okay.
That's how intricate they get.
Man, that's crazy.
Yeah.
It is
1480. I mean, never think. I was just like, oh,
I never knew what the 88 stand for. I knew
my...
the 14. I knew 14 was the 14 words, but I never knew what the 88 stood for.
Yeah, what's like the cost?
Yeah, it's
fucking Jimmy sandwich.
It's the cost of a gallon of gas.
and those 2 either separate or together are the most common ones that I see.
Wow. What other codes are there?
Well, they love using the Totenkopf, which is the skull from the SS hat, and I believe other units had them. And it's a skull that kicks slightly to the left, and it has a very distinct look to it. Let's see. They like creating content, declaring their eye color, showing the eye color chart that would tell if you were Aryan or not.
What eye color is
basically that? Usually blue to blue green.
That's so weird.
Yeah.
So weird.
They've got some doozies. They will. What was that last one that I did? What was it? 1542. When Germany took over they created all this anti-Jewish legislation that had 1,542 pages, and Goebbels, I believe it was, signed on that page, and they love using 1542. They liked using 7 million wasn't enough. So WE, so 7 million or 7.0 WE. They've just got tons of them. For those that don't know, that might think that I'm appropriating Jewish culture, I'm adjacent. My the family, and he's kind of why I joined the army. He fought in World War II, and he went down to Argentina to scout, if you know what I mean. After the war,
Yeah,
he was very fortunate for himself and my grandmother. They would also often hard vacation to Europe as well. But it's part of the reason I had that truck, actually. I did not find out my grandmother had left me funds. She had died 6 years prior to the divorce. And I didn't find out she had left me some money unless she died or we got divorced. That's how much she didn't like her.
Wow.
Wow.
So that's what I mean by lucky. Like, because I was like, freaking, how am I going to pay for this? And let it come to find out, it all worked out.
Wow.
Good man.
But that's what I mean by luck. Like, I'm not asking for it. It just fucking happens.
Right.
Nuts.
But yeah.
Well, I certainly learned a lot just hearing all these different things that you've been speaking about today, man. I mean, my mind was just blown by all the different codes and everything that you're able to speak to.
The hoops they jump through are ridiculous.
It's just nuts.
I thought
The Atlantis thing really floored me. That's the one that really took it over the top for me. But 1488 too, that was nuts. That one I would never thought.
The hyper, what was it? The
Hyperborean.
Hyperborea.
Yeah.
Not Hyboria, where Conan is from. Hyperborea.
It's Arnold Schwarzenegger. So,
I'm a bit of a nerd. I'm a bit of a mega nerd.
Yeah.
Hey, well, it was a pleasure having you on, Tiger. Is there anything you'd like to plug before we wrap it up here today?
Well, no, I think we hit all the whistles. I've got the fundraiser going on for the tiny homes. That's in my link tree. And then right now, 15% of my OnlyFans is going to any charity I'm working on. So Chicago, Detroit, wherever. And we'll probably up that if TikTok ever goes down. But as far as plugging things, your mom?
Nice. Very good. I'll take it. That's a good one.
Punch a Nazi.
So what's your TikTok handle?
That needs to be Living Spark. Tiger Bomb 4.0, because I've lost 3 others.
All right. Wow.
Yeah, they got shut down because of what's it called?
Not anti-Nutsi.
Yeah. The Nutsi's in.
I actually the control alt right delete thing, right? My first account, I told one story about my Jewish grandfather, and they came from me. So out of spite, because tigers are they're the most spiteful creatures on the planet. You can look that up. I decided to put that on a shirt, and they nuked my account before I could. So when I got my second account going, I got the shirt going, and all proceeds went to the Jewish Holocaust Museum.
Nice.
I've been throwing smoke at them ever since.
You still selling that shirt?
Yeah, it's in my link tree.
Okay, cool.
All right.
I am thinking about switching companies though. I need stretchier shirts.
Gotcha.
Well, thanks for coming on, boss. We really appreciate having you. When you're here in Chicago, maybe we'll have you in person if you got the time.
Yep, you got my
Yeah, that'd
personal
be
number.
really cool.
Oh, we'd love to.
Hang out with us.
Yeah,
Sweet.
that'd be great. We go get some. Go get a gym shoe.
Shoot.
How weird is that?
Yeah, for sure.
We'll do that for sure.
And maybe hand out some gym shoes.
Yeah, hand out some gym shoes and go get some gym.
Oh, you're munching on a gym shoe.
Yeah.
Oh, we'd love to do what Mr. T does and hand out shoes.
Bless you.
We just don't have that kind of funding.
Yeah.
He's got that A-team money going on.
Yeah. Sells a gold chain.
Well, thanks again, boss. We'll be talking to you again soon. So, best of luck, and
All right.
We'll see you again.
All right. Have fun,
Thank you.
guys.
Take care.
Take care. Bye.
All right, guys. Well, that was Tiger. You can check him out on TikTok and YouTube. And I thought that was a good interview, man. I loved it. But you can find us on Instagram, SOS Podcast 4. You'll also can see me, Arkham2442, Unicorn in Human Form, Hattori Hans Rotansky.
Yeah, Hans Bertansky everywhere except for Truth or Parlor.
But that's it for us, guys. Thanks for checking us out today. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.